Before we completely leave the brush tool behind and get into the blob brush, I want to show you a quirk of Illustrator that I don't quite know how to explain. Now I've changed that to 10 pixels and you can see the brush tip preview. It's going to draw a 10 pixel line. But if by some chance you do that and it stays on 1 pixel, just click and change it again, and then your next stroke will be just fine. I don't know what that's all about. If it never happens to you, then great. So I'm hit Command Z, and I'm just going to draw a line because I want to show you the difference between the blob brush and the brush tool, the paintbrush tool. So if we hit V to get the selection tool and we select this, notice it says path. And we see our path defined with the blue line. We see our large stroke around it. And notice, when we click on it, we have the stroke highlighted. And you think, well, Scotchko, what's the big deal? That's exactly what I would expect to happen. Yeah, I know. So the blob brush is Shift B, but I don't expect you to remember that just yet. B for paintbrush, Shift B for blob brush. Now, the blob brush is just like the paintbrush. Well, it's similar to the paintbrush in that you can double click this, but the blob brush options are a little different than the paintbrush options. You can actually adjust the shape, the roundness of the blob brush, the angle it paints at, and the size right here. And you get these cool previews. Where's the reset button? How do I get back to where I was? You know, that's a problem, huh? So I want this back to round. So roundness at 100%. We don't care about the angle because, what was it, 0? I don't know what the default was. You can't really tilt a circle. And I'm going to draw a line. And notice, just like before, we have a stroke, but we have no selection and we have no fill. So if we get our selection tool and we click on the paintbrush path, you see that we have no fill and a stroke. I know, Scotchko, get to the point. Watch what happens when we click on the blob brush. All of a sudden, it still says path, but it's a closed path. That path is around the outside of this shape. And it has a fill. And it has no stroke. This is the essence of the difference between the blob brush and the paintbrush. The paintbrush creates paths that can be open or closed depending upon, that is a closed path with the paintbrush. And if I color it in and color it in and color it in, and get this all like this and then come out here, oh no, I wrecked it, and I do this and color it in. You know what I get, right? I hit the letter V, we get a whole bunch of squiggly lines. But with the blob brush, if I hit Shift B just to practice, because we want to practice, and I draw what we called a closed path, right? And then I color it in and make a mistake and color it in and move around and color it in and basically make the same mess, right? I'm going to get rid of all those white spots and kind of try to color that in. How much junk have we made if we hit the letter V and select it? Remember, it makes a closed path. Still, well, now it says compound path because we have holes. Want to get rid of that compound path? I hit Shift B. I'm just going to color in. And now, when I hit V and select this, it now says path because the compound path allowed for there to be holes inside of this. Cool, huh? And a little extra weirdness with this thing. If I Option drag out a copy, there's obviously 2 of these. Now, the shape builder allows us to connect different objects. But the weird thing about the blob brush is if I paint across these two and then hit the letter V to get back to my selection tool, I have a different closed path. What's up with that? Crazy, huh? So, very different behavior. Lots of weird paintbrush activity here with individual paths. And of course, here I can rotate this and, I can do all the same stuff. But here, yeah, I can rotate this. But if we get the direct selection tool and I click on an endpoint and I can move this around and change things, right? We can do different things with our path. We click here. What do we have? You can see the anchor point. So I'm going to click away and click on a single anchor point. And now we can move this and we can reshape our closed path. Now, this gets really complicated when we have so many shapes, and we'll talk about simplifying paths and adjusting, making all the little tweaks we can do in the future when we learn more about not only these two selection tools. You can also select points with the lasso tool, and the pin tool and curvature tool will also allow us to do cool stuff. So just know that, play around with this, see what you can do, and wonder why these tools exist and what you could possibly create. That looks a heck of a lot better than this mess, right?